We're going to talk today about emotional power. What does that mean? There's good emotion, there's bad emotion. But control of your emotion is very important for you to have a happy life. I'm not talking about a wealthy life. Any that get rich, we've already proven that. You know, keeping is the hard part. We're talking about emotional control. Now, to show you how people control your life, I'll never forget one time, I was sitting at this red light. And this guy I knew, old man, drove up. I say an old man, he was my age, I'm 59 now. And so he was sitting there in this little Volkswagen driving, very studious, just thinking about what he got to do, very conservative. He was down on life anyway, he already had a negative attitude. So this young kid, he drove up beside him, you know, in his red hot rod, and he started just taking that toe and just working on that yap. I mean, he was having fun, you know. Look at the old man and say, "You want to drag, old man? Want to drag?" The old man said, "Kids." Man, what? Kids. I don't understand it. And he started going into a speech to himself about how bad the young generation was. Finally, the kid just spun the wheels off, throwed the smoke in his face. The old man trying to roll up the window. The old man started mumbling to himself. He got the office, he started telling everybody about this kid that was revving up this engine, driving like a maniac. Every time he went into his boss's office, he started telling him about it. He didn't get nothing done all day. He got home that night, just telling his wife about it. Now, I want to ask you something. Isn't it kind of stupid to let some young kid in a hot rod beside you in the morning, his big toe mess up your day? His big toe messed up this man's mind. All day he's fussing about this kid. And that's what happens to people. Another little story I'd like to tell is about this boss come in one morning, sat down at his desk, he's feeling pretty good. He went to Augusta National golf games the day before. And he came in and he said, I'm running there and said, "Hey," said, "we just lost a $200,000 advertising account." He said, "What do you mean, who?" He said, "Bill." He said, "My friend Bill, 20 years he's been with us. How'd we lose it?" So when you were supposed to meet him and executives he flew in from all over the country yesterday at 2 o'clock. He said, "Oh, I forgot all about it." He said, "Wasn't it your job to remind me of that? You're my secretary, aren't you?" And he just started chewing her up one side, down the other. And finally, she stormed out and slammed the door. He said, "I'm good mind to fire you." She got out there and says, "You ain't gonna fire me." He says, "Ain't my fault." He says, "Kathy's fault. Kathy's on the switchboard, and I specifically remember to tell her to make that call and reset that appointment up." So she called Kathy up and just chewed her up one side and down the other. Kathy got mad, boy. She hung up. She unplugged all the switchboard. She said, "I'm good mind to tell her husband what she's doing with the boss. Man, if I tell on him, she just got mad. But she unplugged everything, let the switchboard just start lighting up. 200 people in the building. The whole building was shut down because Kathy had a bad attitude. She stormed out of the building, quit her job, and went home. She got home. She's never touched her kid in her life. She always loved this little 12-year-old boy. He had on these white pants, you know, and he was down in the mud playing with his kitty cat. And so she got up there and she got so mad, she still had this hangover left over about what was going on in the office. She said, "What are you doing down there in the mud? Get yourself out of that mud right now. Look at your pants. I work hard and that's what you do." Of course, he'd always been in the mud. She's always washed him and said nothing about him. So she just grabbed him up and got a switch. She just beat the fool out of him. First time he ever about to whip his mother, he shocked him. So she stormed in the house and said, "Now you get on in here." So he went over there and he just kicked this cat, man. This cat went 20 feet through the air. He says, "All your fault." He said, "If it hadn't have been for you right here purring when I come home and meowing and wanting, I wouldn't have been playing you and I wouldn't have got a whipping. It's your fault." Now, what I want to ask you folks, wouldn't it have been much easier for the boss to go home and kick his own cat instead of passing everybody up? Now, whose cat are you kicking? Are you causing a chain reaction because you're upset about something? So learn to control your emotions. You see, one thing I pride myself on is total control of my spiritual power, my mental power, my emotional power, my physical power, by staying in shape and watching what I eat, and my financial power. See, you got to have a balance. You got to pay 20% on each one of these areas that I'm talking about, each one. And you've got to control yourself. In other words, you cannot let anybody upset you. When they take your mind away from you by making you mad 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day, or 1 year, or you let some ex-wife or some ex-husband or somebody that fired you 10 years ago come into your mind, they're controlling your emotions. In other words, they have taken something that you own away from you. You have to bury the past, or to bury your present. If your present's buried, you won't have any future. So control your emotion. Take back your mind, because most of you lost it when you was a young person, when everybody told you what you couldn't do and how you should act and how you shouldn't act. So you must control your emotions. So I always say, do not let other people upset you. Now, if someone cusses you out, as I've said before, and they're speaking a language you don't understand, it won't bother you. So it won't affect your emotion. In fact, you may say, look at that person, how happy they are. They're real excited, right? But what you got to remember, if you don't understand the words, they don't hurt you. So what I do when someone tries to affect my emotions, I ignore the speech they're making, or the criticism, or the cussing out. Because nothing can upset you, nothing can control your emotions unless you allow it by letting it come in your ears and your eyes. I think that's why Helen Keller was always so successful. She couldn't hear everybody saying it won't work. She couldn't see anybody not making it work. She thought she's the only one, so she got busy and made it work, right? And that's what you have to do. You have to remember, never to let anything on the outside of your head control the inside. Only the inside control the outside. Now, I sell attitude. Attitude makes the altitude. I sell happiness. I sell how to get your life in order in all ways, how to balance your life. Now, I cannot afford to ever be mad at anybody. Isn't that wonderful? I have put myself in a position where no one can upset me about anything. I have to be that way, because that's my product. I am my product. I've always said, if you claim to be a religious person, you better control your emotions. Because who wants to join a church with somebody raving mad all the time, or flying off the handle? So you can learn to take back your control of your emotions and not give it to everybody that comes along. If it's a rainy day, I've heard people say, it's raining, man, is it terrible? It's not terrible when it's raining. It's raining so to make things grow, so things will look pretty, so you'll say it's a pretty day later. And you say, well, what's all this about? Well, we have 4 tapes that goes with this on emotion. And you should listen to those 4 audio tapes. This tape here is to just get you excited so that you will learn to control your emotions instead of letting other people control your emotions. This is not going to be a long tape because a lot of the stuff that I cover in this, I covered in the mental power tape. But I want to talk about now a story. If I can think of what the story is, what's the story?
Peacock.
Peacock story, yeah, thank you. I got a staff sitting around here. You know, you don't never be ashamed to ask what you forget. Peacock, I want to tell you about the peacock bird. You know, when God made earth, he made all the animals. He made man. He made everything. All right? And then all of a sudden, one day, he forgot to put feathers on the birds because they was running around naked. The sun was bleaching their little old skins and making blisters on it. The animals were eating them up because they wasn't strong. They couldn't fight. So Josh, forgot. But anyway, the birds got together and they picked out the biggest bird, a big tall fellow with a long neck. And he's skinny, you know, and they said, you go talk to God because you got long legs and you can get up on the mountaintop close to him. So he trotted up the mountain, and the lion was after him. He finally got out of his way, and everything was all, but he almost didn't make it. So he got up there and he dropped his knees and said, God, what about us little birds? What about us? We're the weakest things on earth. You didn't give us any way to protect ourselves. We don't have any claws to fight with. We don't have anything, any ferocious teeth, you know. We can't run as fast as some of the animals. What are you going to do? You shouldn't do this. You're kind of good, God. And God said, okay. He said, tell you what I'll do. I'm going to give you some feathers. You put these feathers on and most of the birds will fly. And it'll keep you from getting blistered by the sun. So he gave him all these baskets of feathers. So he made many trips and he carried the feathers down the mountain. And he called all the little birds around, all sizes and shapes. They come around and they thought, he said, now get you some feathers and weave yourself a coat so that your sun won't burn you up and so you can fly. You can protect yourself. You can get away from animals that run on the ground. So all the birds got in there and they started fighting over the black feathers. And then they started fighting over the white feathers. And some of them were laying there dead. They'd pecked each other to death. And all of a sudden there was dead bodies laying around, but a few of the birds, the black bird, a couple of them got off and they run off to Africa. you know. And then the white bird run off in Europe, and the yellow bird run off to Asia, and the red bird, he took off with his. And all of a sudden, there was dead bodies, a few little feathers around every basket. They were mostly empty. And so the big bird was standing there, and he was amazed at all this. He hadn't been selfish. And he said, what am I going to do? I didn't get no feathers. I should have got me some first. And he thought. So he asked God. God says, just pick up the feathers around every basket and weave yourself a coat. So he did. And he had the coat of many colors. He turned out to be the peacock bird, the most beautiful bird of all. By being unselfish, he wound up looking the best. So don't be selfish. Control your emotions. Don't let other people control them. A selfish person loses their emotions. Don't lose your emotions. Just remember one other thing. Emotions is the most powerful thing. It's good and it's bad. Movies will make you cry and you lose your emotion. There's nothing wrong with that kind of emotion. Crying is very important. There was a study made in Oklahoma at one of the universities a few years back, and that study says the reason women outlive men is because they cry. And when they cry the bad chemicals out of their body. It's a way of release. Men, a lot of them don't cry. And so therefore they claim that this is one of the reasons that men did not live as long, because they couldn't get all the chemicals out of their body. So maybe it's good to cry and get your emotions out that way. I get very emotional when I see someone that I know has got a lot of power but don't use it. This whole set of tapes, video and audio, is designed for one purpose. That is make you become a better person than you were yesterday. You can be great. You have everything to be a winner. You can be happy. You can have money. Money can be gotten. If you don't have it, you can get it. Someone's got it. If you don't got it, somebody else has got to go get it. It's just a matter of learning how to talk to them and communicating. But happiness is very important. And if you don't take care of the 5 things we've been talking about on all these tapes, the spiritual power of man, how to use your God, not my God, not somebody else's God, your God, who you believe in, and how to control your mental power. The power of the mind is awesome. You can have anything, you can be anything you want to be if you simply learn how to use this. You've got to be educated, though. You've got to keep up to date with what's going on. And then your emotions, control emotion. That's what this tape's all about. If you lose control of your emotions, you let someone jerk you around, you're dead. You better way to get away from them if they control you too much. And in physical, we talked about physical on one of the tapes. It's very important what you put in your mouth. And what you put in your mouth is what makes your heart healthy, your lungs healthy, everything. You can be that broad, and that's not as important as having a healthy inside. I always said a car, if it's got a good motor and good brakes, is better off if it's got a good-looking body and bad brakes and bad motor. So remember to try to take care of your body. Watch what you put in it. That's why I've never drank, never smoked, never had a drug problem. I want to live as long as I can. I'm 59 years young, and I plan to be 169 years old. Now, if you don't think I'm going to make it, you ain't going to be there to see it, so don't worry about it. Now, suppose I die at 99. See, the important thing, at 98, I think I'm going to live to be 169 because I've told myself all my life. And the reason I know I can live to be 169 is the Russian lived to be 168, and ain't no communist going to outdo me. I don't know about you, but I'm a good American, red American boy, you know. I believe in America. I believe that we can be anything we want to be. I believe that the losers are going to become winners because it's all in the mind. You get your hair lip out of here and put it where it belongs here. Some of us too fat, that's a hair lip. Some of us too black, that's a hair lip. Too Jewish, that's a hair lip. Whatever you are, you've got to get it out of your mind and get it where it belongs. Bad leg, whatever the situation is. So I'm going to live to be 169. Now, if I die at 98, I'm happy at 98, or that last year I think I got 70 to go. Wouldn't anybody be happy with 7 more years ago? Especially when you got it together. So get it together. Control your emotions. Don't let them control you. This is Glenn W. Turner. God bless you. Have a great day.